"Sir, this piano is for performers only." The command cut through the grand hall. They didn't know the weathered veteran standing there held melodies that had once been the sole comfort for countless souls amidst the chaos of war. The words echoed, sharp and dismissive, across the polished marble floor of the National War Memorial Hall. "Sir, you can't be here. This instrument is reserved for tonight's military band performance." A young security supervisor, barely out of uniform himself, stood firm, his posture rigid with enforced authority. 70-year-old Marine veteran, retired Staff Sergeant Elias Vance, stood before the gleaming grand piano, his plain jacket slightly rumpled, a faded purple heart ribbon barely visible on his lapel. His eyes, deep-set and wise, scanned the keys, a silent yearning radiating from his usually stoic demeanor. Around him, murmurs rippled through the assembled elite members of the Army's premier ceremonial band. They exchanged sneering glances, their pristine uniforms and polished instruments gleaming under the soft lights. "Another lost soul trying to relive his glory days," one whispered, a dismissive chuckle following his words. "He probably thinks he can play a tune or two." Elias ignored them, his gaze fixed on the ebony and ivory. This wasn't about glory, it was about something far deeper, a memory etched into his very being. The supervisor stepped closer, his voice hardening. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave, sir. Now." The air crackled with a tension that was almost physical. Elias's mind drifted back, not to grand stages, but to the dusty, shattered remains of a field hospital during the Vietnam War. He was just a young corporal then, barely out of basic training, but his fingers, even then, found solace on a battered, out-of-tune upright piano scavenged from a bombed-out village. The melodies he played weren't for performance, they were for survival. He'd played for the wounded, their groans softening into sighs as his notes filled the makeshift ward. He played for the dying, offering a final, gentle farewell through the only language he knew that could transcend the horror. He remembered a young private, no older than 18, cradling his rifle, eyes wide with terror, muttering about home. Elias had played a simple, haunting melody, one he'd composed himself, a silent prayer for solace. The private had closed his eyes, a single tear tracing a path through the grime on his cheek. That melody, his battlefield lullaby, became an unspoken anthem for his unit. It was played in quiet bunkers, hummed during tense patrols, a whisper of humanity in the face of relentless conflict. He'd never sought recognition, only to offer a moment of peace, a fragile sanctuary in a world consumed by chaos. Now, decades later, the urge to touch the keys, to let that lullaby breathe again in this hallowed hall, was an overwhelming tide. The supervisor reached out, ready to escort Elias away, when a sudden hush fell over the hall. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoed from the rear entrance. Every head turned as a figure, impeccably dressed in a crisp uniform adorned with numerous ribbons, strode purposefully forward. It was General Marcus Thorne, a revered figure in the armed forces, known for his unwavering integrity and deep respect for every soldier, past and present. The general's presence commanded instant deference. Even the arrogant band members straightened, their sneers replaced by looks of uneasy anticipation. General Thorne approached, his gaze sweeping the scene, a faint frown creasing his brow as he observed the tense standoff. His eyes settled on Elias Vance, and a flicker of recognition, then deep respect, passed through them. The general stopped beside the security supervisor, his voice calm but resonant. "Is there a problem here, Lieutenant?" The supervisor stammered, caught off guard. "Sir, this gentleman was attempting to access the piano. It's for authorized personnel only." General Thorne's eyes narrowed slightly. He turned to Elias, a soft smile touching his lips. "Staff Sergeant Vance. It's been too long." The security supervisor blanched. The elite band members exchanged horrified glances. Staff Sergeant Vance. The name, once a legend in their own specialized circles, now carried a weight they hadn't anticipated. General Thorne gently placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. "Perhaps, Lieutenant," the general continued, his voice now carrying an undeniable authority that left no room for dispute, you should let Staff Sergeant Vance show you exactly why he belongs at this piano. The chain of command, so rigid moments before, dissolved into a collective gasp of realization. The general's words hung in the air, transforming the mood from tense standoff to stunned silence. The elite band members, their faces now pale with a mix of shame and dawning understanding, stood transfixed. They had been so quick to judge, to dismiss, to assume superiority. Now, they could only watch as General Thorne, their commanding officer, paid an unprecedented level of respect to the unassuming veteran. General Thorne turned to the hushed assembly, his voice clear and strong. Many of you may not know Staff Sergeant Elias Vance. But his music, his battlefield lullaby, has touched more lives than any of us can count. During the darkest days of the Vietnam War, when hope was scarce and fear was a constant companion, Sergeant Vance, then a young corporal, composed a melody that became the quiet heartbeat of his unit. It was a hymn of resilience, a prayer for peace, played on whatever broken instrument he could find in the chaos. This isn't just a veteran trying to play a tune. This is a guardian of souls, a silent hero whose notes whispered courage into the ears of the wounded and brought solace to the dying. A collective intake of breath swept through the hall. The words resonated with a profound weight. The security supervisor, visibly trembling, lowered his head in remorse. The arrogant musicians, their instruments suddenly feeling heavy and hollow in their hands, exchanged furtive glances, their pride dissolving into a deep sense of humility. Elias Vance, who had spent a lifetime avoiding the spotlight, now stood bathed in an unexpected reverence. The piano, once a symbol of exclusion, now beckoned as a vessel for a powerful, forgotten truth. His simple jacket and the faint purple heart ribbon suddenly spoke volumes about a life dedicated to service, not spectacle. With General Thorne's gentle nod, Elias Vance slowly approached the grand piano. His fingers, gnarled and marked by age and the invisible scars of war, hovered over the keys. The hall held its breath, a tangible stillness replacing the earlier tension. This wasn't just a performance, it was a moment of profound communion. He took a slow, deep breath, and then, his weathered hands began to move. The first notes were soft, almost hesitant, a tender whisper from a distant past. But as the melody unfolded, it grew in strength, filling the vast hall with a haunting beauty that transcended the physical space. It was the battlefield lullaby, the same tune that had once brought fragile solace in makeshift hospitals and dark bunkers. Each note was imbued with memory, the cries of the wounded, the hushed prayers of comrades, the silent strength forged in desperation. The music was not merely heard, it was felt, a wave of bittersweet emotion washing over the audience. Tears welled in the eyes of many, from the hardened General Thorne to the young security supervisor, who now stood with his head bowed, his earlier arrogance replaced by a profound sense of regret. The elite band members, their polished instruments forgotten, stood transfixed, grappling with the realization that true artistry wasn't about flawless technique, but about the raw, unfiltered truth of the soul. General Thorne, his voice thick with emotion, approached the podium. Tonight, he announced, his voice resonating through the hall, the concert program will change. We will not begin with our scheduled performance. Instead, we will open with Staff Sergeant Vance's composition. And thanks to a live feed, his melody will reach every corner of the globe, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. The applause that followed was not a polite ripple but a roaring crescendo of profound respect and gratitude, a humbling acknowledgement of the silent heroism that had just filled their hearts. The video of Elias Vance's performance spread like wildfire across the internet. Within hours, it was being shared by military families, veteran support groups, and news outlets worldwide. His battlefield lullaby, once a whispered comfort among soldiers, was now an international phenomenon. Hospitals played it in recovery wards, finding it brought a unique calm to patients. Schools used it during moments of reflection, teaching children about the sacrifices made for peace. The story resonated deeply with millions. Messages poured into the National War Memorial Hall, tributes from retired generals who remembered the tune from their own service, heartfelt thanks from Gold Star families who found solace in its gentle strains, and emotional confessions from countless individuals who realized they had overlooked the quiet heroes in their own lives. Yet, Elias remained unfazed by the sudden fame. He politely declined interview requests and lucrative offers to record his music professionally. He preferred the quiet rhythm of his daily life, volunteering at a local veterans clinic, helping fellow servicemen navigate their post-military lives. Occasionally, he would accept an invitation to play for small gatherings of veterans, his fingers finding familiar comfort on a worn chapel piano or an old upright in a community center. He never sought recognition, his reward was in the connection, the shared understanding that transcended words. At the end of his quiet performances, he would always offer a gentle, reflective thought. The greatest melodies, he'd say, his eyes twinkling, are often found in the deepest silence. Listen closely. And comment respect for those who carry the quiet songs of service in their hearts. His humble request became a poignant call to action, inspiring countless acts of kindness and recognition for veterans worldwide. Among those deeply moved by Elias's performance was a young composer named Alex Miller. A former Army medic, Alex had lost his brother in action and, consumed by grief, had abandoned his passion for music. His piano gathered dust, a silent monument to his pain. But Elias's Battlefield Lullaby had stirred something long dormant within him. The melody wasn't just beautiful, it was a profound testament to resilience, a raw expression of hope born from despair. Alex felt an undeniable pull, a sense that this music held the key to unlocking his own frozen emotions. He reached out to Elias, not as a fan, but as a fellow soul seeking healing. Elias, recognizing the quiet pain in Alex's eyes, welcomed him. They spent hours talking, sharing stories, not just of war, but of life, of loss, and of the enduring power of shared humanity. Alex confided his dream, to transform Elias's lullaby into a full symphony, a lasting tribute to all who had served and suffered. Elias, initially hesitant, saw in Alex the rekindled flame of a shared purpose. He agreed, not for fame, but because he believed Alex's vision could carry the song to a new generation, a new audience, ensuring its message of peace and quiet strength would continue to resonate. Alex began to compose, weaving Elias's simple melody into a complex tapestry of sound. He envisioned a symphony that would not only honor Elias's original intent but also express the collective experience of veterans and their families. It was a daunting task, but with each note, he felt a deeper connection to Elias, to his brother, and to the countless unsung heroes whose sacrifices shaped the world. Months turned into a year as Alex delved deeper into the music, immersing himself in military archives and historical records, seeking inspiration and insight. One rainy afternoon, while sifting through a box of Elias's old personal effects, items Elias had simply given him to help with context, Alex found it, a worn, leather-bound journal, its pages filled with elegant, faded musical notation and Elias's tight, almost illegible handwriting. It was the original manuscript of the Battlefield Lullaby, complete with additional movements and fragments Alex had never heard. His breath hitched. This wasn't just a song, it was Elias's secret history, a musical diary of his war experience. There were passages dedicated to fallen comrades, each note a silent tear, each chord a testament to their bravery. One section, titled Morning's Promise, unfolded into a soaring, hopeful melody that Elias had composed after his unit was miraculously rescued from a seemingly impossible situation. Another, The March of Quiet Resolve, was a powerful, rhythmic piece born from the relentless patrols through hostile terrain. The discovery was a revelation. It provided the missing links, the emotional core Alex needed to complete his symphony. The journal also contained poignant, unadorned prose, Elias's reflections on the meaning of service, the enduring camaraderie of soldiers, and the profound cost of conflict. He wrote about finding beauty in desolation, hope in despair, and purpose in sacrifice. This wasn't just a musical score, it was a living testament, a silent cry from the heart of a generation. Alex realized the true depth of Elias's artistry, a man who had chosen to express his most profound experiences not through words or accolades, but through the universal language of music, hidden away, waiting to be found. 3 years later, Alex Miller's Echoes of Resolve, a veteran symphony, premiered at the United Nations Peacekeeping Summit in Geneva. The hall was packed with diplomats, military leaders, veterans from across the globe, and their families. Elias Vance, now frielier but with eyes still sharp, sat in the front row, a rare smile gracing his lips. He wore his simple jacket, his purple heart ribbon still faintly visible. The symphony began, and Elias's Battlefield Lullaby swelled through the hall, woven into a powerful, intricate tapestry of sound. It was grand, yet intensely personal, echoing the vastness of conflict and the quiet struggles of individual souls. The Morning's Promise movement brought tears to many eyes, its hopeful crescendo a stark contrast to the initial haunting strains. The March of Quiet Resolve vibrated with a raw, undeniable strength. As the final notes faded, a profound silence descended, followed by an explosion of applause, not just polite clapping, but a roaring, heartfelt ovation that lasted for minutes. General Thorne, now retired, stood beside Alex on stage, both bowing to the audience. He then turned to Elias, raising his hand in a slow, respectful salute. The gesture, visible on screens around the world, spoke volumes. Elias Vance, the unassuming veteran, had given the world more than just a melody, he had given it a conduit for healing, a reminder of the quiet courage that shapes nations. Elias passed away peacefully a few months later, his final moments filled with the quiet joy of a life well lived and a legacy secured. His symphony became a staple in peace concerts and veteran memorial services worldwide. Every year, on the anniversary of its premiere, cities across the globe would dim their lights for a night of remembrance, playing Echoes of Resolve as a collective moment of reflection and gratitude. The impact of Elias Vance's music continued to ripple outward, far beyond the grand concert halls. In the quiet corners of the world, his melodies found new voices, new interpreters. In a community center in Kansas, a group of young, disabled veterans, inspired by Elias's story, formed a small orchestra, using adapted instruments to play his compositions, proving that the spirit of music, like the spirit of service, could overcome any physical limitation. In a refugee camp in Poland, a child who had lost everything began to hum the Battlefield Lullaby, having heard it on a smuggled radio. With no instrument, he taught himself to tap out the rhythm on an old tin can, creating his own version of Elias's healing melody. His improvisations, raw and full of yearning, were shared with aid workers and eventually recorded, becoming a symbol of hope and resilience in the most desperate of circumstances. The military academies began to incorporate Elias's story into their leadership training, not just for its musical merit, but for its profound lesson in humility, courage, and the lasting impact of quiet dedication. His compositions, once a hidden treasure, were now being studied by aspiring musicians and historians alike. The essence of Elias's music was its inherent truth, its raw honesty that transcended technical perfection. It encouraged others to find their own voices, to express their pain, their hope, their gratitude, through whatever means they possessed. The Battlefield Lullaby became a universal language, a bridge between generations and cultures, a testament to the idea that some songs are never truly finished, they simply wait for new hands, new hearts, to carry them forward. Elias Vance's life, a quiet testament to service and sacrifice, became a powerful reminder that true impact often emerges not from the loudest voices, but from the deepest silence. His story, amplified by a simple melody, transcended the boundaries of a single event, evolving into a global movement of empathy and recognition for the countless unsung heroes who shape our world. It taught that true strength lies not in privilege or pedigree, but in the unwavering pursuit of compassion and the courage to offer comfort even in the face of despair. The world began to recognize that the greatest legacies are not etched in stone or proclaimed from grand stages, but woven into the fabric of everyday lives, in the quiet acts of resilience and the unspoken sacrifices made for others. Elias's music, a raw conduit of human experience, became a universal language for healing, memory, and grace. It underscored the truth that anyone, regardless of their perceived status, can be a source of profound inspiration. So, for all those who carry a quiet song within them, a truth too sacred to shout, know this: your voice matters. Your silence holds immense meaning. Somewhere, someone is waiting for the unique gift only you can offer. Don't wait for permission to shine. Let your melody resonate. Speak your truth. Because the world doesn't need another fleeting spectacle, it needs another Elias Vance, a beacon of quiet strength, reminding us to comment respect for the unseen heroes who make our world a better place.